Hey everyone, so I am 26 female and have a younger sister, Donna, 24 female, and we were very close growing up. Personally, no matter what's happening right now, I'd like to think that we still are. Donna and I went to the same high school, and even though we had a gap of 2 years, we did have a lot of common friends as well. One of these common friends was Nathan, a 26-year-old male, and we used to be very good friends back in high school. After school ended, I lost touch with a lot of my old friends once I moved out of state for college, and that's what happened with Nathan. When my sister graduated, she went to a college near home, so it was different for her. She kept in touch with all her friends, and soon enough she started dating Nathan. I was thrilled for them because I knew Nathan personally and I thought he was a really nice guy. A few years after dating, I think maybe 4 or 5 years, they got engaged 8 months ago. So far I'd been living out of state, but last year I moved back so that I could be closer to my family, and I got a job offer that paid better than my previous job as well, so I was all set. Donna seemed the happiest of all when I told her this news, and after her engagement, I've been beside her every step of the way. I'm her maid of honor, and I'm the one who's been helping her out with the wedding preparations as well. As a result, I've been spending more time at her place as the wedding date draws closer, so I've been seeing a lot of Nathan as well. He's not very involved or even interested in the wedding planning, and his only concern is that it should all be within their budget, which it is, so he has nothing to add. But despite that, he would make it a point to come and sit beside me every time I went over to their house. I don't know if Donna ever picked up on that, and even if she did, she didn't let it show. I always found it a little strange that he'd choose to come sit beside me when his future wife was on the other side, but then this was so petty and insignificant that I didn't think much of it. Even a few days back, Donna left the room to get something and Nathan happened to be sitting beside me. I joked that we could switch places now and he could sit beside Donna if he wanted to, but he literally just said no thanks and then continued to scroll on his phone. I dismissed it as an attempt at a joke and didn't think much of it, even though I should have. I really didn't know back then if it was worth bringing up with Donna so close to their wedding, so I just didn't. And then, last night, with exactly 1 week to go for their wedding, I received a text from Nathan where he confessed to me that he'd been in love with me in high school, but thought that he'd moved on when I went away. However, me being back now and spending so much time at their house made him realize that he'd never truly moved on at all, and all those feelings that he'd pushed down so many years ago were coming back up to the surface once more. Then it got worse, as he told me that he believed the only reason he even dated Donna was because he thought she was similar to me and he felt like he was dating the Walmart version of me, which was just such an incredibly insulting thing to say about anyone at all, let alone my sister, who he's supposed to be getting married to in just a week, by the way. When I read that text from him, I knew that this was a drunk text, not just because of all the spelling errors, but also because Donna had already invited me to spend the night at her house, since both of them were partying with their respective bridesmaids and groomsmen, so I knew he was out getting drunk. I'd had to miss Donna's party since I had to wake up very early for work today, and to be honest, I'm not much of a drinker, and try to avoid it as much as I can. I knew that everyone would be drinking at the party, and I didn't want to feel out of place, so I just skipped it, and Donna didn't make much of a fuss about it either. Now I'm wishing that I had attended that damn party, and then maybe this wouldn't have happened. I forwarded that text to Donna immediately, because I wanted her to know what her future husband thought of her. That text really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I felt so sick after reading it that I literally had to go take a shower so that I could finally fall asleep. After a lot of tossing and turning and trying to erase that confession from my memory, I finally fell asleep at 3 in the morning, and I was woken up at 5 with a call from Donna. She'd called me twice already before I finally answered the call, and man, I'd barely even said a word when she started yelling at me about being a homewrecker who'd tried to steal her man from her on purpose. She said that she finally knew why I'd come back and was visiting her so often. It wasn't to help her with the wedding, but was actually to sabotage it. She told me that she never wanted to see me again, and even threatened to call the cops if I dared to show up near her house or her ever again. I'd just woken up when she'd called me and was still too drowsy to even make sense of anything, so I just let her scream at me and then disconnected the call after she was done yelling at me. By the time she ended the call, I was totally and fully awake and was just beginning to comprehend what had happened. I couldn't and still don't understand why exactly she'd been yelling at me for telling her that her fiancé was sending me drunk confessing of love a week before their wedding. As far as I'm concerned, I think I did her a favor by letting her know what kind of man she'd decided to get married to. Nathan is the one who proposed to her, despite still being in love with me. Nathan is the one who called her a Walmart version of me. Nathan is the one who sent me a drunk text in the middle of the night and told me that he loved me a week before the wedding. Nathan is the one screwing up their relationship, and somehow I'm the one she's blaming. I literally don't understand why she's so upset with me. I just happen to be the messenger. I've never, ever flirted with Nathan, not back in school, and definitely not in recent times after I moved back home. I didn't even know he had feelings for me, and I'm sure nobody else did either. He hid it really, really well, and if I had noticed something off, then I most definitely would have maintained my distance, and wouldn't even have treated him like a friend like I'd done so far. There was only the fact that he used to sit beside me every time I would visit Donna to discuss the wedding plans, but that was happening right in front of Donna. So if she really had a problem with that, then she should have spoken to him and told him that she wasn't comfortable with him sitting next to me. I didn't bring it up because I didn't think it was that big a deal. It was a little weird, sure, but there was no need to make a hue and cry about it. In hindsight, I maybe should have told Donna that I thought what he was doing was weird, but honestly, that's just no reason to get so upset with me and call me a homewrecker. The only reason I'd even visit her so often was because she needed the help and she wanted me to come over, not because I wanted to be closer to Nathan like she thinks. I'm just really disheartened that Donna's being so awful to me just because Nathan did something stupid. He's the one who she should be mad at, but as far as I know, she hasn't done anything or I would have heard from my parents. I've been trying to get in touch with her since the morning, but she's unresponsive and is ignoring all my texts as well. I just don't know what to think, and the fact that I'm running on 2 hours of sleep is absolutely not helping either. I can't even discuss this with my friends because this is just too personal, and I don't want to betray my sister, and so this is my last resort to get some helpful advice or insight. So am I the a-hole for warning my sister that her fiancé sent me a drunk text confessing his love for me just a week before they're supposed to get married? Update 1. It's almost midnight right now and there's still no word from Donna or even Nathan. I haven't heard back from my parents either, but I'm not too worried about them. I called them just an hour ago and I'm guessing that they've already fallen asleep, so maybe they'll call back tomorrow. As for Donna, I've left her several more texts and even called her a couple more times, but she's been ignoring me the entire day. I've even tried calling a few of her friends, but even they aren't responding to me. I think she must have told them what had happened, and for whatever reason they also think that this is my fault. I just don't get it. But thanks to you guys, I know now that I'm not the one at fault here. Thank you for all your kind words and advice. It means a lot to me that you guys took out time to reassure me, and looking back, it kind of feels silly that I was even worried about being in the wrong here in the first place. If anything, it made me even more certain that Nathan is the one to blame here. I guess it must have slipped my mind because I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, but Nathan did mention in his text that he'd started falling for me again when I came back, and I moved back home a whole year ago. In fact, a little over a year to be precise, because it's been 13 months since I moved back, but it's only been 8 months since Nathan proposed to Donna. During those 5 months before he proposed, Nathan, Donna, and I met plenty of times, so if what he said is actually true, then he shouldn't have proposed to Donna at all in the first place. If he already knew that those feelings he had for me back when we were friends were all coming back, then he should have come clean to my sister right then instead of making matters worse for everyone involved in getting engaged. I'm not implying that if he had broken up with Donna I might have dated him. That never would have happened anyway, because Nathan might be a good guy, but he's just not my type. So I would never have dated him anyway. But if he'd broken up with Donna back then instead of proposing to her like a fool, then at least the three of us wouldn't be in such a horrible situation right now. In fact, a lot of you guys even asked me why he'd get engaged to my sister if he was still in love with me, and honestly, my guess is as good as yours. I think he probably believed that getting engaged and being committed would make it easier for him to forget about me. I'm not sure, but that's the only explanation that makes sense. I can't think of any other reasonable excuse for him to do something as dumb as this. He's the one who's responsible for this entire mess in the first place. I know most people believe that Donna is equally bad for blaming me, but honestly, I know her, and I know that she isn't a bad person. Whatever she said was probably just a knee-jerk reaction to the realization that her relationship was built on lies. I can't imagine what I would do if I dated a guy for more than 3 years, got engaged to him, and suddenly I found out that he was in love with my sister, not to mention that she'd probably been drinking through the night. I'm ready to forgive my sister for whatever she said to me if and only if she apologizes to me for accusing me of being a homewrecker. I know she's going through a lot right now, so I'm willing to cut her some slack, but she still does owe me an apology, and I'm hoping that it comes soon because I really don't want to spend the rest of our lives on bad terms. I couldn't care less about Nathan, though. He can go to hell. Update 2. My parents finally called back at 8 in the morning today. I'm on my way to work, so I thought I'd post a quick update about the conversation I had with them. I told them everything that had happened so far, and they were just as shocked as I'd been. They told me that they hadn't heard from Donna yet, and that got me really worried. So I told them that they needed to go check up on her, and they told me that they were going to visit her right away. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, but I think they're busy with Donna since they haven't answered my calls. I'm really worried for her, and I hope she's all right. My parents did text me once they reached, though, to tell me that Nathan's car was missing, so they think that he hasn't come back home after that night. And I'm glad that he hasn't. The coward probably doesn't even have the guts to face my sister after what he did to her, and I'm glad that he doesn't. This is the way it should be. I don't even care that he might be hurting right now, because whatever friendship we had went right out the window the second he pressed send on that text the other night, so now I have no sympathy or forgiveness to spare for him. He's the one who messed up, so now he'll be the one who has to deal with the consequences. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been 2 days since the last update, and I've just been really stressed about everything, mainly my sister. She's not in a good state right now, and she's going to need a lot of help to bounce back. The other day, when my parents went to her house to check up on her, they found her lying on the couch. She was completely knocked out and had around 3 or 4 empty bottles of wine, so they rushed her to the hospital immediately. Thankfully, she came around in an hour or 2, but she's been throwing up every couple of hours since then and hasn't been able to keep any food down. She's so weak right now that she can barely lift an arm on her own and is still struggling to even remember when exactly she polished off all that wine or even the last meal that she'd had. She says that she doesn't remember anything after the phone call, referring to the call where she yelled at me. My parents think that after that call and after her friends left, she started drinking and didn't stop until there was not a single drop of wine left in any of the bottles. They are extremely upset about all of this, as am I. I haven't been able to see her yet because she refused to see me. My parents had asked her if she would be okay with me coming to see her, but she said that she didn't want to see me, not now at least. And so I'm not allowed to go check up on my own sister. It sucks, especially because I really am worried about her, but I also know that me or Nathan are probably the last people she wants to see right now, for obvious reasons. I feel terrible about what she's going through, and I'm trying really hard not to blame myself for it because I know that this isn't my fault. And she did say that she didn't want to see me now, so I'm guessing that it means that she'll want to see me at some point. I just hope she wants to see me soon, because this just sucks. I'm beginning to hate Nathan more and more with everything that happens because, let's be real, none of this would have happened if he just had the courage to be honest with himself and my sister and broken things off like a decent freaking human being all those months ago when I moved back. I don't know where he is or what he's up to, but I sure as hell will make him pay. I can't visit my sister, but I can visit him. I think he's hiding out at his mother's house right now since he hasn't come back home after he confessed to me, so I might go talk to him today. Update 4. I just came back from Nathan's mother's place, and it turns out I was right. He had been hiding out there. Also, guys, please relax. When I said I was going to make him pay, I meant it in the literal sense of the word. Like he'd have to cover the entire cost of the wedding, because, obviously, it wasn't happening anymore. So now, whatever expenses had to be cleared would come out of his pocket. That's the least he could do after all that he's done. His mother wasn't even willing to open the door to let me in, but I told him that I absolutely needed to speak to Nathan, and after a while he came to the door himself, looking very embarrassed. I was as blunt as possible and told him all the trouble that he'd caused, that my sister was now struggling with alcohol poisoning and I wasn't even allowed to see her because he messed up. I told him that I was holding him responsible for this whole mess and said that he needed to cover the entire cost of the wedding. He looked ready to fight about it, but thankfully didn't. I don't think I would take that kindly. And while he didn't argue with me, he did try to apologize to me, which just made me snap because it wasn't the apology I'd expected or even wanted. He said that he didn't intend to ruin whatever we had, not what he and my sister had, but what we had, and that he regretted the fact that he ever sent that text because that ruined our friendship. I was so confused because this was an apology that he owed to my sister and not me. Even now, after knowing how much heartache he'd caused my sister, he was apologizing to me and feeling sorry that we weren't going to be friends anymore. That's what he was sorry about, not the fact that he'd broken my sister's heart and ruined his own relationship of over 3 years. That really was the limit for me, and even though I'd tried really hard to keep my temper under control, I just couldn't anymore. He was a horrible human being who just couldn't think of anyone apart from himself, and I honestly think Donna dodged a bullet. I told him exactly what I thought of him, and made sure to mention that even if he and I were the last people on this planet, I still wouldn't even look at him, let alone date him, not because his face is ugly, but because his soul is even uglier than his face. After my little outburst, I got into my car and drove away really fast because I just wanted to put as much distance as I possibly could between him and me. I might have gone a little overboard and hurt his feelings with what I said, but I don't regret what I did to him. Just like he doesn't regret what he did to my sister. I'm still seething about his apology. What the heck did he even expect me to say? He probably thought that by apologizing to me he'd somehow stand a chance to get with me, as if I'd ever do that to Donna. And even if Donna would be okay with us, I just can't even think about dating someone as awful and self-involved as this guy. Update 5. Hi everyone. So it's finally been a week since this entire fiasco even started, and today my sister agreed to see me. Funnily enough, today was the day she was supposed to get married. Of course, she had to put up a post to announce that the wedding was off a few days back and my parents had to call all their relatives to inform them. It was sad, but it had to be done. At least none of our money is being wasted thanks to Nathan. He blocked me everywhere. As if I'm going to be hurt or even care about that. Good for him. At least now he knows that I don't want him and never will, no matter what he does. Coming to Donna. We finally met today and she seemed like she was in better shape. She still has a very sad and sickly look about her right now, but I'm sure that'll go away with time as she recovers, not just physically but also heals emotionally. It was awkward at first, but as soon as I hugged her, she broke down and started sobbing. She cried so hard that by the time we separated, the sleeve of my shirt was actually damp with tears, so I knew just how bad she was hurting. She obviously apologized to me for snapping and yelling at me when she called me and said that it was uncalled for, but she was so heartbroken that her first instinct was to shoot the messenger, which is what she did, and she was sorry about it. I obviously forgive her, and, to be honest, I don't even care about that anymore. It's all in the past now, and I'm just glad that she's all right. She told me that she was devastated after she found out because she literally didn't have a clue. She'd been too drunk to open her phone when I sent the text and had only read it when she woke up in the morning. She was hungover as well, so that added to the awfulness of the situation. Before she called me, she'd called Nathan and had asked him if this was true, and when he said yes, she didn't even wait for an explanation before hanging up. A few minutes later, she called me and tore into me. She'd essentially just treated me like a punching bag, and when that didn't make her feel any better, she resorted to binge drinking because she just wanted to numb her mind. She somehow managed to keep it all a secret from her friends, and once they left, she started drinking, and the next thing she knew, she was waking up in the hospital. I felt awful for her, and she cried some more before I told her my side of the story. We had a good laugh when I told her about the expression on Nathan's face when I said that I wouldn't date him even if he was the last man on earth, and I was overjoyed to see my sister smiling again. It's been a while since I came back home, and I feel a lot lighter and better than I had been these past few days. Again, thanks to all of you for your kind words and your prayers. Please continue to pray and hope that my sister bounces back soon.